Hey y'all, how's it going? Welcome back. Today we are here to discuss Miss Marvel episode 3, and yes, I am back home. I am no longer in a crappy motel, and this is the most okay it has ever been to be back home. All things considered, because I just came back from LA, so there's some differences there, but who knows, maybe I'll be making several return trips, if not, packing up my bags and living underneath a palm tree over there in California myself. But yeah, we are slowly steamrolling and getting back to business here. There's a lot of TV to catch up on. There's a lot of just good stuff to catch up on. So, I can't create community posts right now. So, if you ever need to catch up with me, go ahead right now and follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Mia J Media. I have links down below as well, just so, if something comes up, why I'm not posting or why it's been a little bit delayed. But anyway, let's get into it. So yeah, episode 3, and we will be talking about episode 4 because that's already out. But episode 3, I just watched it, and what a fantastic episode. This show has just really been such a darling. I don't know, it seems like the perfect combination of having the right characters, interesting characters, throwing in all these wonderful cultural references, throwing in some great action, throwing in complicated decisions that the characters have to make and everything. So this episode too, and it just revealed so much. So before we deep dive into this, guys, leave a like and let me know what you thought about this episode, because I was amazed. I was like, the more I dig into this and start coming up with all these ideas and theories, it's just like, wow, there's just so much. And it's good stuff, it's because sometimes you can have dumb questions that you're like, this is kind of dumb the way they execute this, and I have so many questions because none of it makes sense. But this leaves you asking some good questions because it all makes sense, and because it's just such a compelling narrative. But let's just get into it. And I want to start with the Jinn, who are, we find out these group of people from a whole nother dimension, and we have that flashback scene where we discover that Kamalas great grandmother Aisha was part of this group. And they were, in, I believe it was Pakistan, digging through this cave, and that's where they come upon this magical bracelet. And we discover that by using the powers of this bracelet, and whatever this bracelet has in its powers, they could potentially find their way back home. So I thought just setting up this way was quite interesting, because we also see that Cameron's mom is part of this group. Because I was looking, between, the flashback was like in the 1942, and then you go to present day, and I was like, wow, she ages really well for someone who was, doing this stuff back in 1942. And then that's when we discover that they're from another dimension. So that was quite interesting. But I was suspicious, after episode 2, I was like, is she really gonna help Kamala, or is it just gonna be like, is she gonna have some exterior motives? And we did find that out later, that yes, she has some exterior motives, and she will want to get her hands on that bracelet and everyone else so that they can get back home. It's just that she after 12 hours was done playing nice, which I suppose in the grand scheme of things, if you've been on Earth for maybe 100 or so plus years, you're kind of like, okay, let's just get this over with finally, now that she is in the presence of the bracelet. But it does make me wonder, because I don't think this got addressed, was how did they get to Earth or to this dimension in the first place? Because of course in the MCU we've been playing with the multiverse theories, and having Loki and Kang have these kind of timeline rifts that they've created, and Doctor Strange creating these timeline dimensional rifts, and then again we saw it in Multiverse of Madness. And so it's kind of like, okay, there's a lot of different ways that we can play with the multiverse here. So or not just that, yeah, different dimensions, and my brain is getting all scrambled. But all of that to say, it makes me wonder, okay, now that this group from the other dimension has put the hammer down, the Jinn have put the hammer down on Kamala, I feel like it's a stupid question, is she still going to help them? because she wanted to. Her and Bruno were looking into it, they were studying the djinn and all that, but the question now is, will her grandmother, her great-grandmother, tying into this group lead her to still want to help them? Because if we think about her great-grandmother Aisha, and this is also mind-boggling. Okay, she was part of the group. She separated with that group when they were being invaded in the tunnels, and she had the bracelet with her. And at some point she had a family, either before or after she was with the group and separated from them. And then not only that, but during the partition, she was not there, on the train. She didn't go on the train to safety or wherever they needed to go. She kind of disappeared. And then the question is, why did she disappear? Where did she go? Was she in danger? Did she die? Did she decide to stay back, perhaps, to help, the people who are on the other side? So we've got all these questions, and, if she needs saving, and if she potentially wants to go home, then I could see Kamala being like, okay, I will help you guys. I will help you all to figure this out. But, only because it has to deal with my great-grandmother and not because you guys were being mean and tried to punch me and, all that. But I was seriously wondering, how did two teenagers think they were going to discover interdimensional travel, even if, they have the magic bracelet to help aid them with that? Apparently everyone in the MCU, especially the young kids, are always like these science and engineering geniuses. So I have to call BS if they end up figuring that out on their own. But at the same time, I was like, wow, well, if they just had America Chavez, then that would be pretty easily, because she can just punch a hole into another dimension. Or, then Bruno was like, well, we would need the power of the sun. And I was like, well, if they could just bring Doc Ock back, the power of the sun in the palm of my hands, that would kind of help them too. I don't know what kind of nuclear fission you need to break into another dimension, but it sounds like they need a lot of help. And just the fact that if they do end up doing it by themselves, I might be like, okay, sounds a little, fishy. They need an adult, or they might just need the help of an Avenger or someone who has this type of high-level interdimensional knowledge that they don't have. I also want to circle back to the discussion about Kamalas' powers, because that's just been a big discussion, and it's kind of interesting that we've kind of really only seen her character Ms. Marvel in 3 big iterations, and I would say that'd be her comic book run, her original comic book run, I would say in the Avengers game, and then I would say in this television series. And so far they've all had different-ish takes on her origin story. So I would say now that we're letting this play out, I am a little bit more comfortable with where they're taking her character and where they're taking her powers. And so in this, we get more confirmation that, okay, yeah, the powers come from within, and it definitely is from a bloodline that I definitely called on, which, maybe was obvious already, but the powers came from obviously another dimension that came from her relative. And so it's like, in a way, she's got cosmic powers. It's not necessarily Terrigen Mist, it's not necessarily Kree or Skrull. It might be, I don't know, but at the very least, it's still a cosmic ability that she has and that she's learning to work with. But I think more so than that, I think the biggest point at the heart of Kamala's story about having her powers is this whole dealing with her powers. I would say in the other 2 iterations that I mentioned, the one thing that she struggled with was, she's a huge Avengers fan, she's a huge Captain Marvel fan, and she's always wanted this for so long, and now that she's got it, it's not as glamorous as it seems. She had a problem, in the video games, just kind of, it was really a boohoo moment, it's like, oh, I've always wanted this, and now it's like, it kind of sucks. And then the television show right now, it was kind of this big shock to her to be like, oh, I'm not Asgardian, it's not as cool as that, I'm this djinn, I'm this kind of from this mythical kind of ghost story type of people. And so that to her was rather shocking. And so it all feels like this with great power, there must also come great responsibility. So I feel like this is the point now where she has to balance that. Like, okay, you've had this power thrust upon you. Now it's your time to figure out how to deal with it. How do you use this in the way that all superheroes do, in the way that they all kind of just figure it out in the end. So it's just another one of those, I guess, internal struggles that the show has been presenting, and just, I guess, really just makes it all the more interesting. It's rather cute. So that all leads us to going into episode 4, because we know that her grandmother FaceTimed her towards the end of this and was like, yo, you have the vision about the train too. You gotta come over here at once, and she'll reveal whatever the heck is going on here. So I guess it begs the question, how did her Nani see that vision in the first place? Are they connected in some sort of way, or was it her great grandmother that sent the vision to the both of them? And then if so, why? That's a big question. So I'm assuming, Nani is going to have to reveal something pretty big about their bloodline, or potentially what happened to their great grandmother, or I don't know. I know she's going to have something big to reveal. There's just so many different ways that this can go that my brain is like being pulled in all different directions here. And that's really, really exciting to me, because it just, thinking about how many different ways this can go. It's not in any way predictable. And I think that's what's fun about it, is it's not predictable. There's a lot of ways that they can play with this. So yeah, another amazing episode. Some random things I like, again, how Department of Damage Control is really just this small kind of comic book entity that they just kind of pop up, and they're just kind of like here and they're there, and they take up just the perfect amount of space in every single episode. I'm so glad that that's not like the main focus of these episodes. And there were also some really great heartfelt moments, especially with the wedding and Kamala feeling out of place, just being the superhero and dealing again with that great power. Especially like the mother-daughter thing, when she was in the bathroom and her mother was taking care of her, and then kind of parallel that with the father-son talk just before his wedding. I thought that was just really, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so well crafted. I can't forget the Bollywood scene, the dancing, that was really amazing at the wedding. And yeah, I think that's it. So I think I'm going to leave it here. We will be getting our review discussion for episode 4, Lickety Split. I've got a checklist of things to go through, so it'll be coming in the coming days. Definitely fingers crossed before episode 5 comes out. So again, be sure to like this if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment telling me what you thought about this episode. Be sure to subscribe so you know when my next discussion video comes out. And I think that you should check out my favorite things video. I did a kind of show and tell video about some of the cool stuff that I've bought over the years, basically all fandom stuff, a lot of Marvel stuff and Star Wars. So I think that would be amazing for you to check out. Go head over to that now, and well, I'll see you in the next video, guys. Bye.